And now I'm switching back to English, and I would like to give the floor to Dr. Agrita Kiopa, Deputy State Secretary and Director of the Higher Education, Science and Innovation Department, Ministry of Science and Education. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you, Vyacheslav. Thank you to all colleagues who are present. What I'm going to I want to be closer to everyone, and I want to introduce you to our priority science directions and the logic which we followed when we set out those priority directions. And this is why the two previous speakers already covered the logic, how this smart specialization is being laid out in different countries and in all EU countries together, as well as how this understanding of society was mentioned by Ivars. And our job was to put all that together and propose directions with which all scientists should be working in until up to 2021. So we put together information also from sectorial ministries, and we came out with 8 directions: natural sciences, development, applied mathematics, ICT, smart materials, technology products and process value increase, cybersecurity. So something that's common, smart materials and technologies, and increasing of its values. It's also a topic which directly is being spoken under smart specialization strategy. And then, of course, cybersecurity, increasing of cybersecurity, and this is a large challenge not only in Latvia but in all countries, and it is becoming more and more topical. Second area is energy independence, energy efficiency, and climate change, and all that, how we can be sustainable, research of local resources and their sustainable use. Obviously, we understand that one of large resources is our land, our air, our water, and of course, and we have to use all that. Public health, sport, demography, welfare. So this is also another area which is important to our society. Something. Next area would be science, culture of knowledge and innovations for economic sustainability. We want to create culture which values science and research, and that can we contribute to society in general. And obviously this cannot be done unless we are sustainable and able to exist. And then also it's open, including and socially resilient society, and based on Martin's discussion and documents which were analyzed by Ivars and Martins and which we analyzed ourselves. And this goes hand in hand with demography and other topics that take place in our society, and security of society and defense. We cannot imagine that everything takes care of itself. No, we have to be active. We have to get involved in processes which take place around us and where do we live. And obviously, we also have to provide our security and defense. And the next area which is important, it's statehood of Latvia, language and values. This is very important. We have to think of those. We have to think of our values, something which is of value to all of us. And here we see that scientists are those We should focus on these topics, and when we work in these priorities, this should be paid sufficient attention to. So for our discussion, for channeling our discussion, I just want to say what are these priority directions in science. So what are those priority directions? This is research. Research directions where scientist work should be concentrated in all areas of scientific research. And here we speak scientific, natural sciences, life sciences, agriculture, social sciences, and humanities, engineering sciences. We do not speak that there is one area of one discipline of science is more important than others. No, we also don't think that biologists or physicists can solve all problems. There was time that the physicists worked with atomic bomb. They solved lots of problems.
So we think that all disciplines of science must make their contribution to the social advancement. As Ivar's already mentioned in his presentation, and I've copied it from his presentation, in fact, when we defined the research priorities, we based ourselves on those three pillars, economic capital, cultural capital, and scientific capital. So all 8 priorities that we have identified are cross-cutting in nature, and they are coherent with the smart specialization priorities that we have identified. And these are indeed, priorities that are relevant to across the field, or that are shared by all research community. Then another bit more complicated issue that we had to address or deal with was putting together a smart specialization strategy. Many of you, by the way, took part in formulating the smart specialization priorities in 2013, so you know that linking the areas and priorities described in smart specialization strategy and areas of transformation, so had to be linked with other priorities, and those had to be aligned with economic priorities. So we worked with different documents, conducted analysis. We also outsourced some of the studies, and we also collected the proposals or the views of all the ministries. In this smart specialization strategy, we basically developed templates, questionnaire templates, and we asked questions to government and non-government players and asked them to identify the priorities for all scientific disciplines or research areas. As you may imagine, we received a lot of very diverse ideas, ideas of different level, from broader and more general to very specific priorities. For example, how to work with underage ex-convicts, up to climate change, which is a very broad sort of challenge, or very broad area. So we received all of these ideas as to what the priorities should be, and we also had to come up with a time frame for implementing these priorities, because we have a very firm objective in mind rather. So basically we have identified priority research areas which will be funded more actively in order to finance fundamental and applied research in these priority areas. So based on the hypotheses that are identified, or research subjects that are identified by scientists, for example, nuclear safety, and researchers from different branches can contribute to this research on nuclear safety and experts of different areas could therefore collaborate on conducting this research, and we can also fund them through the national research programs or the programs that are defined by the ministries, sectoral ministries, or basically the challenges that are relevant or important for the industry and where the research is needed in order to address a particular or tackle a particular challenge that the industry is facing. So that is the way, these priorities are being funded. That's how we want those areas to work. So this is the linkage for your coherence with the smart specialization strategy. As you know, smart specialization strategy is about transforming the economy. So basically, it's about different economic players and shift of paradigms, or rather transforming their behavior from low value-added manufacturing to high value-added manufacturing. We're still in the economic cycle where most of the profit is made by either using our natural resources or by using our human capital. And a shift of paradigms is necessary. We must focus on higher value added, which will require investment, of course, and technological improvements, and will require better marketing, focus on the quality of your products. So that is what the smart specialization strategy is all about. So we had to link the research priorities with this strategy. So again, strategy, as has been mentioned a number of times in other formats, defines the areas of transformation in an economic understanding, how traditional industries should change, conventional manufacturing methods should change in order to increase the value of a product. And it also talks about the transformation of areas that have horizontal importance or that are at the core of the horizontal priorities like ICT, which is very important for across sectors. In energy sector, for example, you can drive down the energy prices. And when it comes to higher education, higher education in a way is the sort of the basis for the other the research areas. So when we worked on the smart specialization strategy in 2013, we decided that smart specialization strategy must be attained by broadening and deepening the knowledge basis or the fundamental knowledge across scientific disciplines. We still have to focus, and we still have to emphasize the knowledge basis. We have not yet reached a sort of a point of maturity where people understand the importance of science or appreciate the role of science. Politicians are also not clear as to what the research gives. So basically we have to continuously emphasize the importance of science, fundamental sciences in everything that we do, the importance of raising knowledgeable people, creating a knowledge base, creating a pool of experts you can go to whenever you face a challenge in your particular industry. So therefore, sort of linking the smart specialization strategy with research priorities. So in the process of linking them up, we had to bear in mind that, smart specialization is about the economic breakthrough or transformation in the economy, whereas research priorities are all about the knowledge bases or the fundamental knowledge required for research across the field or across various disciplines of science. So basically, we came up at the end of the day with four scientific sectors: maths, natural sciences, and biomedicine. When we analyzed the ecosystem, research and innovation ecosystem, we concluded that these areas should become the excellence sort of points for the bioeconomy. We need the biomedicine, for the bioeconomy, and for other areas to grow, develop successfully, we need these research in these areas. So when it comes to energy, they need ICT research, technical research. When it comes to biomedicine, medical research, smart technologies, smart computing. So all of these ICT researches are relevant across the field, so they are sort of cross-cutting research priorities. And as regards to differences, human capital or skills requirements differ from area to area, or the competence requirements differ from area to area. I haven't included in any of my presentation slides, but working in your particular area, you should look into smart specialization strategy, ecosystem analysis, and see, what ministries, sectoral ministries and universities have to do in order to provide skillful researchers or competent researchers. Then I also wanted to underline that in order for us to implement successfully the smart specialization strategy, in order to implement the research priorities that we have identified in order to promote social and economic development and strengthen those social values. So in order to do that, we are investing EU structural funds in capacity building projects. We are trying to strengthen the capacity of scientific institutions. We are trying to develop the human resources required for research. And we are also encouraging a shift of paradigms across the scientific or research institutions, as well as across the industry and across the business community that is working and that needs this research in order to boost its value added. Why am I saying that? Capacity building as such is nice, but it's the public investment that goes into the knowledge base and the national development. Without public funding, very little would happen, And companies reinvesting in their development and zero tax on reinvested profit is basically something that will also provide private funding and which will encourage the shift in the business community and will encourage them to commission research and work on increasing their value added. And here you see a sort of a schematic representation of the scientific priorities as well as smart specialization. So research priorities would include fundamental research and research conducted within scope of the national research programs. We would also like to focus on market-oriented research, but unfortunately after the crisis, the funding for market-oriented research depleted or was cut severely. We hope that we'll get some funding later on. Now we have to use the structural funding, which is for the capacity building for the market-oriented research. So that is something that we use as a substitute. So we need money in order to generate the knowledge that we need according to priorities which society demands us to generate. And therefore, 9.5 million euros in the coming years that we have for the fundamental and applied research program, and on top of this we will also have the national research programs that we already know about, that have been already defined by the ministries and that are in the pipeline, but the government decision has not yet been taken on, so we have to still work hard together with you on convincing the government to find those research projects that are in pipeline. I do suppose that you are aware of this information. I don't think there are any passers-by here in this room. We all have experts, no laymen here. You know the priorities quite well. You know the draft cabinet decision and all the background information for the draft cabinet decision. Just wanted to let you know that Ministry of Education and Science has on its webpage published Ivars and Martin's study that was presented earlier, and also contains information that has been provided by sectoral ministries or line ministries and other stakeholders that were involved in the debate. And our summary is, by the way, a sort of a compilation of the research priorities across 6 scientific disciplines, and you can use this. This goes out to researchers and research institutions. You could use this information when defining your internal priorities, when prioritizing your research activities, so that you can see what industries need and what our people expect us to research or study.
But before we go into coffee break and discuss priority directions, I just wanted to remind that all who are present and those who and representatives of organizations which we have worked and are going to work with, this 28th of October, we are waiting for feedback, and after that we finalize our project and we move it to the cabinet ministers, and that would be all from my side. And I just want to say thank you for your attention. Thank you very much for a very clear formulation. Now we are going to have a break until 10 to 12, so 11:50. There's going to be a coffee break, and see you back then.